months, and then I'm sure my colleagues will delve deeper into particular issues. I just want to start with that when this all happened about 2.5 years ago, and Imran Khan was finally arrested, and then he was convicted in a case of treasury. We went to the UN Working Group of Arbitrary Detention. We got a unanimous decision from that working group. So this is not Zulfi Bukhari saying it, this is not Imran Khan saying it, or PTI saying it. This is the UN Working Group of Arbitrary Detention. They came back with 6 recommendations, 6 short recommendations, run through them briefly: release Imran Khan quickly, immediately give him compensation, put a trial and inquiry upon those who put him into this illegal detention, and then it categorically said that he was put into this illegal detention so he could be kept out of the February elections. Along with that, they said that we will give it 6 months before they release him, otherwise we will make our way to Pakistan, we seek permission and come, and we want the Human Rights Council to accompany us and take this matter up. It's been far longer than 6 months. It's been nearly a year since we've had this decision from the UN, but unfortunately the government is just resistant on letting the UN Working Group come to Pakistan, or the Human Rights Council. I urge all of you to please speak up on this. This is not something which is from a party or from a Pakistani court or anywhere else. This is from the UN. And I urge all the MPs and the democratic voices in the world to Pakistan to allow the UN Working Group to attend Pakistan, and to allow the Human Rights Council to also take this forward. Moving forward after the arbitrary detention, just even before, when Imran Khan came out of power and we lost our government, the primary thing that was used to break down, or try to break down our party and our people, was torture. Let it be physical, let it be mental. At the time when our government fell, we had 13,000 people thrown into prison. Till this day, we have senior leadership from women aging from 70 all the way down to 18, 16. We have a senior former health minister, Yasmin Rashid Sahaba, who's still in prison. We have a couple of senators that are in prison. Imran Khan's chief of staff at the time was picked up, tortured, on record saying that I was stripped naked and electrified on his private parts. And we've got a colleague here, Azhar Mishwani, his family was picked up. My cousin was picked up. They spent numerous months in prison. Half the time we didn't know where they were even. But the main source, or the main primary way of functioning, was torture. And that's what I want to raise with you today. One particular incident, just before I move forward, is of a senator called Azam Swaleh. He's a senior senator of our country. He's been senator numerous times, he's been minister numerous times, a man of honor. And I was there because I was, and the reason I'm bringing this one up is because this is personal to me, because I was his first point of call when this happened. And because he was very vocal and close to Imran Khan, the way that it was used against him was that he spent one night in some judicial guest house in another province of Pakistan, Balochistan, and a video was made of him and his wife. And when that was sent to his wife on WhatsApp, it was an intimate video, and he called me just in tears saying, I want to commit suicide. So these are the things that our colleagues, our MPs, our senators have faced in order to leave the party and to leave Imran Khan. This senator now, he then did a press conference about it. So this is not just him saying it to me. He did a live press conference, and if you watch that press conference, he had a huge breakdown, because for him it was just unsustainable to have this kind of pressure put onto him, and this kind of humiliation put onto him. At the moment, he's been in prison for the last 4 odd months. When he was in Islamabad prison, and he moved to Attock prison, another city, he had a message sent through to me via his son. He said he told, because it's my constituency, he said there's 1,000 prisoners in this jail who are sitting in the bare sun, they have no blankets, no pillows, no shelter, nothing covering their heads after the Islamabad protest. This is the one message. He said, forget about me. I've been in prison for 4 months, no conviction, nothing whatsoever, barely appearing in any court to get bail. They're just not allowing him. But his main message was, with 1,000 are sitting under the bare sun without any accommodation for prisoner rights or anything of the sort. And this is just one prison. There are many like this across the board. Two other main examples, Imran Khan himself. Solitary confinement, barely allowed any time out of his cell. As soon as there comes a large decision-making time between the party or for the country, or where we have to talk to him often, or his legal team needs to get to him, he gets put into complete 24-hour detention. For 20 days at the time when this Islamabad massacre, the protest happened on 26 December, he was on 20-day complete 24-hour lockdown, no exercise, not allowed outside his cell, no communication with the outside world. Not his family, not his lawyers, not his political party. And this has now become a routine every time we need his guidance, or every time we need him to make a decision on something. This was total mental torture for him. Moving forward, his wife was put into house arrest, was, you could say, maybe not use the word poison, but was given inadequate food, which caused massive health issues for her. When she was under house arrest, people thought that it was a normal house arrest, and it should be hunky-dory, if house arrest ever is. She went to court, and she gave a petition that put me back into jail. You don't see that very often in the world, that take me out of my house, my room, because the room had large windows, and they were closed down with steel plates, so no sunlight can come in, and there was no communication with the outside world. So we actually went to court for her to put her in the prison that Imran Khan is in the women's section, which then she served nearly a year into that, and had immense health issues on it. Coming further from there, I want to remind everyone that Pakistan is also a part of the Convention Against Torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. So I think this convention should be upheld, to its truest manner when you sign up for these things. At the same, moving forward from there, because I know time is of essence, coming to the 26th November massacre. This was a protest which we have a right to do, of peaceful assembly. All Pakistanis from all across the country, moved towards Islamabad, the capital. We were met with rubber bullets. That became a norm. We were met with extreme tear gassing. We were expecting it, that became a norm. But what we didn't expect was straight live fire towards their own people, our own people, by our own people. And that's what we faced. We have on record 14 deaths. We have proven videos on YouTube, everywhere, live. BBC covered it, The Independent covered it, Telegraph covered it, The Guardian covered it. Men thrown off containers who were in the middle of their prayers. Their only weapon was maybe peanuts, dry nuts, and maybe some juice or water. Like I said, the number of 14, what was then told to media and to everybody else that we should be attacked, that why did we say the number 40 or some other number when it's only 12 or 14? 12 or 14 has all of a sudden become a small number to kill your own people in a peaceful protest. We have the right to peaceful assembly, and 14 of our people were shot dead. Snipers were placed on the roof. And I can give that as factual, because my own right-hand man, my own worker who works for me and is my representative in my constituency, was shot in the Adon. When he was shot, he was moved to, along with many others, he was moved to the 2 national government hospitals in Islamabad. And what happened? We had agency people and police coming in and trying to move them while they're in the middle of surgery, trying to get bullets out of them. Once we got I moved him to a private clinic and got the operation done. After the operation, I moved him to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is the province where we are in government in, because he was safer there. God knows what happened. He was on the road to recovery for 2 weeks. No infection in his report, no nothing else. He was perfectly fine. I have messages from him the night before, and all of a sudden we got a call that his heart failed and he was dead. So I'm giving you a live example from, and this is now, reported everywhere. Again, when we even got these deaths of 14, this wasn't given by us. This is the 14 deaths discovered by international media. I would not even say that this was discovered by local media first, because they were unfortunately under the similar duress that we were. But I had BBC call me up, and they've written in print that the doctors, the managers, the directors of the hospitals are being harassed not to tell how many bodies are lying injured, how many bodies are lying with bullet wounds, and how many bodies are lying in the mortuary. These are things reported in all international newspapers from Al Jazeera all the way to The Independent. And yet, we still have to prove for weeks that we are liars, that our people have been shot. There are videos of snipers on the roof. Who does this against their own people? And this is what we faced on November 26th. We still, unfortunately, are facing a situation which we would love for you to, and request you to raise your voices in, that there are dead bodies in the mortuary. But families are being harassed, that you're not allowed to say that your relative has died in these protests. We want those bodies back. Even if we're not allowed to talk about them, the least you can do is give those bodies back to the people, to the family of the deceased. That is the one last right that every human being of any caste, color, religion is allowed. To let them have the last rights and allow those bodies to come back. First they said no ammunition was fired, then they found one person dead, reported by BBC. The number kept creeping up, creeping up. As time will go by, you will see this number 14, unfortunately, increase. I will again thank everyone for coming here today, especially the Independents and everyone else who have raised their voices over time and period. I would just lastly say there's a case which Mr. Shadalapur, I'm sure, will brief further on Imran Khan, which the written verdict, just has to be announced, and it's been postponed 3 times. It was supposed to be on the 13th, it got postponed to the 17th. Now we're going on to the 17th, God knows if it gets postponed again. We don't mind the conviction, because once we get the conviction, we get to go into the real courts. This is just a kangaroo session court, made within the prison that Imran Khan is at. So we actually want decisions to and convictions quicker, so we can get to the Supreme Court and hope for some justice. Again, thank you so much for hosting this, and thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to Safina Nasir.